Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. In the previous video, I gave you an introduction of the epidemic that we are facing in terms of anxiety and depression within the modern world. And I have explained to you that this whole interaction of the causes of anxiety, depression and related psychological problems that is now exponentially growing throughout the so-called civilized world is causing a lot of problems in terms of the meaning, the purpose, the sense of happiness, the sense of well-being of every human being. So we have to find a solution that is our solution, and we have explained to you that our approach is the SEMP approach, spiritual, emotional, mental and physical approach, and this is integrated in a holistic totality. If you cannot have the spiritual component, you cannot resolve anxiety. There's no way. Because if you have groups of people that are brought up without any meaning, without any purpose, just bordering on boredom, materialism, just free for all, just do whatever you want to do, you get tired of life. And when you get tired of life, you get into anxiety. Anxiety of what is going to be tomorrow, what is my tomorrow, what is my purpose in life. These very basic existential questions. These are all spiritual issues. And how this interaction is going to affect our neurotransmitters. Everything is a total picture. So I'm going to give you a little storyline of this picture. For example, if we take from this is our self, all right? So we have, this is our brain, and we have our amygdala. So our amygdala is now controlling, all right, the stress hormone, noradrenaline, all right? So this stress hormone is affecting our activation of the amygdala, all right? And then the hippocampus also is affecting, these two are working together to affect the cause of anxiety. So if you have a very highly activated amygdala and a hippocampus, always subject to stress, you will have anxiety, all right? So that is one aspect in terms of how serotonin can then play a role. So how do you interact? How do then you reduce the problem of anxiety? You have these neurotransmitters that Allah has given us. Allah has given us hundreds, in fact thousands of neurotransmitters. We are talking about these three important ones. Serotonin, this feel-good neurotransmitter that will then affect the activity of the amygdala and the hippocampus to reduce. So if you don't have naturally serotonin, and serotonin can be generated by many pathways, all right? The easiest pathways is the physical pathways. For example, you want to produce more serotonin, you just exercise. For example, just a simple thing, exercise. You exercise, all right? You are depressed, you go and exercise. What you do, you improve the level of serotonin. And then when serotonin is improved, what you do, you then reduce the stress hormones, noradrenaline, and then you have no anxiety to a certain extent, all right? But this is just one pathway, all right? So you have, for example, another pathway, the guts-brain interaction. Your stomach, you got within your guts billions and billions of microbiome, which is far more genetically than your total cell in your body. All right, now scientists have proven that your microbiome react with your brain, and it encourages, if it is in the right balance, it encourages the development of, again, serotonin. It gives you the feel-good, calmness, fulfillment, sense of well-being, all right? And then you don't get anxiety. You also have the heart-brain interaction. So from your heart, from your emotion aspect, your calm is also affect your serotonin and all the other GABA and noradrenaline and so on. So the whole interaction of your life in terms of anxiety is not just anxiety, it's just one little problem. It is a problem of the interaction of your physical, mental, emotional and spiritual self. I'll bring the holistic spiritual interaction at a slightly later stage. So you can see that with all this understanding of sciences, it is not a simple problem. It is an existential question, a question of how you feel good, how you free yourself from fear, how you free yourself from worry, all right, sadness and so on, based on a perception of how you lead life. So if we are going to feed our children, for example, they have a lot of our children today are fed with junk food. So you got junk food. All right? Your junk food here is a junk food. You have all those tidbits like crackers, frieds, all the fry thing, all those fast food, white bread, all those donuts and things like that, all those junk, carbo drinks, sugary drinks and so on. This will affect your guts. Definitely it affects your guts. When it affects your guts, you get what? Depression. So with junk food, you get high level of stress and depression and anxiety. D and A. So you see, it's as simple as that. If we remove junk food from our system, you can save millions and millions of children who are living on the edge, anxiety. They are killing themselves. Why? We feed them with junk food, which affects the guts biome, microbiome, which affects the production of all the neurotransmitters, and they don't exercise, then it affects their emotion, and then it gets worse. And at the highest level, it is the spiritual interaction, the feelings of purpose and meaning in life in Islam. And we have the whole idea of how all this affects our calm, affects our neurotransmitters, affects our guts, and at all the level, emotional, mental, and physical level, they are subsidiary to the spiritual impression of your existence. All right? So this is the key. If you want to have happiness, you want to be free from anxiety, you want to be free from depression, you must have the fine-tuning of your spirituality, of your purpose and meaning in life, of your ubudiyah to the one who is most loving, most caring, most forgiving, the one that who created you, who created all these systems. All right? I'm giving you an interaction of the story of life. The story of life is that we want to have a life full of anxiety, full of fear, fear of death, fear of worry, fear of disease, fear of even crossing the road, fear of mountain, fear, so much fear that today everybody is overwhelmed by fear. You have all kind of OCDs. This is from the realm of waswasa. All right, that's why in Islam, at the spiritual level, we are given this whole idea where these are interacting forces. So I have in this positive Islamic psychology book, we have in our model, if you open to our model, you can see there is this idea. This diagram number 9 summarize the holistic nature of human self and its effects on the total past learning history. That means an effect of our totality of our being. All right? So where we get the input, we get the external input, naturally we get our input from where? From our neurological. All right? We get the neurological input. Here we get our neuro. We got our input from our, all right, biological. We got our input also from our cognitive. All right, so we have the E, M, and P, but we also have our input from the spiritual. Okay, so this impression that comes into us at the 4 levels is mentioned in the ancient text of Islam. This is not something new, okay? What are the influences that affect your life? One is the external sources of influences. That means you have your external sources of influences, whether it is the cognitive, neurobiological, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. All right? But then you have from the realm of the spiritual. That means you have, at the highest level, Allah has given wahyu to our Holy Prophet Muhammad SAW. That is, you are influenced by revelation. You are also influenced by what we call intuition, all right, intuitive feelings of goodness. You are also influenced by the satanic influence. You are also influenced by the angelic influence. So the level here is beyond space, beyond time. We are talking about influences that affects our emotional, mental, and physical self, that affects our neurological, biological, and cognitive self, all dependent on the input of how we mold and nurture our spirituality to be free from anxiety, free from fear, free from worry. And at the lowest level, as we talk about all these things, we are talking about the levels of nafs. Okay, that's why Allah tells us that the highest level is the 3 levels of nafs. All right, nafs mutmainnah, nafs lawamah, and nafs amara. So we move from this to this, and this is where we get the total interaction. So at the nafs al-amara, we are doing all these things, partaking in junk food, leading a very unhealthy life, having no purpose and meaning in life, doing all the nonsense in terms of drugs, addiction, and so on. So you have the total combination of disaster that you will produce anxiety and depression. And you have this destruction of your guts, all the microbiome, and you have the destruction of the imbalance of the cause of your neurotransmitter, causing you more stress hormone than the serotonin, the feel-good hormone. All right, neurotransmitter. Then you have your development. So from the whole idea of anxiety, from our perspective, Pi-CBT, is we are living in the realm of an-nafsul ammara bisu. Everything is based on greed, is based on free-for-all, without any purpose or meaning, and we are led towards self-destruction. We move over to lawamah and mutmainnah, and at the spiritual interaction, Allah tells us repeatedly that the nature of our existence is for us to achieve peace, tranquility, happiness, and fulfillment. That means we are here to create a wonderful life. We are not here to just having problems. Yes, we have suffering, but suffering in a way that we can mold towards becoming something that is peaceful, acceptable, and then move on towards the whole idea of Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainnah irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah fadkhulil fil ibad wadkhulil jannat. O you yourself in complete peace and satisfaction, well pleasing unto yourself, well pleasing unto your Lord, come back you to my heaven and receive the fullness of the grace of Allah. So you see such beauty that we have within the framework of Islam in terms of psychological development, and I hope I have given you some idea of this whole intricacies, this whole sciences that will take you many lifetimes to learn. I'm just giving you some very basic thing that I have learned, but inshallah it will open your heart to know that we have the answer to the problem of humanity, of anxiety, of depression, of the psychological epidemic that is facing the ummah and facing humanity today, inshallah.